All right, welcome back into the channel. In this video, we're going to talk about Terence Crawford and Shawn Porter and one of the exciting fights that hopefully, man, cross my fingers, get made. However, my sources tell me that there is a problem. There could be a potential problem with this fight going off. If the purse bid is not high enough, Shawn Porter is more than likely going to bail. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. So in this video, we're going to talk about Shawn Porter and we're going to talk about Terence Crawford. But before I do, please make sure if you're not already subscribed to the channel that you subscribe to the channel, like the video, share the video, would be greatly appreciated. Look, I am really looking forward to a fight that hopefully, cross my fingers, is going to take place this year. And that is between Terence Crawford and Shawn Porter. Terence Crawford, in my opinion, is the #1 pound for pound fighter in the world. I do vacillate between him and just messing with him and saying somebody else because I wasn't really happy about the level of competition that he's been having at welterweight. But all in all, you know, truth be told, I think that he probably is pound for pound the best fighter in the world. But that doesn't mean that he's invincible at 147 pounds, because Shawn Porter, who is a perennial contender and a guy that is a multi-time champion at that weight class, is there to fight him. And as I poll my subscribers and the people that attend the live streams and all that, you would be very surprised how many people give Shawn Porter an advantage over Terence Crawford in this fight. So much so that certain people, who shall remain nameless, really are willing to even bet me that this fight doesn't come off because they believe Terence Crawford is going to find a way to pull out of the fight. Now, from my understanding, though, that is not the case. Terence Crawford is ready to take the fight. You know, he has certain financial demands that he wants met. There were some issues, you know, in the negotiation between Top Rank and PBC that forced this fight to a purse bid. But regardless, he wants the fight now. And so therefore, you know, I'm saying that is pretty much means the fight's going to get made, until it was drawn to my attention that Shawn Porter himself actually has an issue with how much money he's going to make for the fight, because he's used to making, you know, top dollar himself for fights. And has said in the past that he's not fighting Terence Crawford for $1 or $2 million. So, you know, even though we have the purse bid, we do have the chance that Shawn Porter might pull out of this fight if the purse bid doesn't come in above $10 million, because the way that the purse bid is designed is that you have a 60-40 split between the teams. And if it's anything less than $10 million, $10 million would be $6 million for Terence Crawford. It'd be $4 million for Shawn Porter. So you know that the purse bid has to be a certain size. Otherwise, Shawn Porter's not going to get the money that he asked for. And one of the reasons that it got to purse bid also could have had to do with the fact that Shawn Porter has certain financial demands himself. And that really does make sense, because if you ask me, the fight, and you go on like what both fighters really bring to the table outside of the belts, this fight should be closer to a 50-50 fight, you know, as far as the purse split goes between Terence Crawford and Shawn Porter, because Terence Crawford hasn't really shown on pay-per-view that he is a much bigger draw than Shawn Porter is, and Shawn Porter is a multi-time champion. So really, I think the idea of him getting 60-40 for the fight is, you know, that's really kind of cutting it thin on Shawn Porter. But at the end of the day, in my opinion, both of these guys need to take this fight, and they need to do it for, like, there's 3 reasons. One is for Terence Crawford, the other is for Shawn Porter, and the other one is for boxing. Because, you know, as far as Terence Crawford goes, this is the fight that he needs to really push himself up there in the mind's eye of a lot of boxing fans that have been really doubting him over the last couple of years, doubting his the level of competition that he's had, doubting, whether his skill set, because he has actually, lost a good amount of at least his verbal fan base over the last couple of years with all of the, the back and forth that's gone on between him and Errol Spence Jr. As Errol Spence Jr.'s fan base has grown, I think he's picked off a lot of people out of the Terence Crawford off the Terence Crawford bandwagon and put him over in the Errol Spence Jr. camp. And the reason that I say that is because, if you're not familiar with the channel, I have live streams and I do polls pretty regularly. And I've covered this issue with Terence Crawford and Errol Spence Jr., for the last several years. And I'm telling you, several years ago, it was much closer to 50-50 in the field about, who was responsible for the Errol Spence Jr., Terence Crawford not fighting, who they thought would win the fight. It was really close to 50-50. But over time, it just gradually got to the point where even, the most avid Bud fans were like, look, there's just nothing that I can really do to defend him, especially after Terence Crawford started saying things in the press like, he didn't really want to, like he didn't have to take the fight, that he's already made the Hall of Fame, and all those type of things that Terence Crawford has said had really turned off a lot of fans. So a fight with Shawn Porter, though, and beating Shawn Porter, I think really answers those questions, because Shawn Porter has given everybody in the welterweight division every top fighter in the welterweight division a really hard time. He's beaten half of them, right? And Yordenis Ugas and Danny Garcia beat both of them. I think that he is a good argument that he did well and beat, a good argument that he beat Keith Thurman in his fight, or at least it was a very, very, close fight. So, but Terence Crawford needs that for his reputation, whether or not he believes that or not. Now, Shawn Porter obviously needs to fight, because how else is he going to get another championship shot, right? And is he going to be relegated to taking secondary fight sites? This is a real crossroad fight for both of these guys. If Shawn Porter is able to beat Terence Crawford, then it's him that's going to get back into that undisputed the undisputed conversation where you have Yordenis Ugas with the WBA, Errol Spence Jr. with the IBF and the WBC, looking to fight Terence Crawford. If he's able to beat Terence Crawford, then, he's got this huge upset win in his career, and he's back in play. He's back in play, making the big dollars on the, on the pay-per-view level. And honestly, I think that might also be why a part of the hang up with the fight, besides Shawn Porter wanting more money, it may also be the case that the PBC is wanting to put this fight on pay-per-view, and by going to purse bid and not agreeing to a fight, then they can actually cut Top Rank all the way out of the fight and keep the money for the pay-per-view, the profits from the pay-per-view, that doesn't go to Terence Crawford and Shawn Porter, to themselves, right? Which basically, means that they're stealing Terence Crawford, Terence Crawford, and cutting out Top Rank. But anyway, the fight goes, man, this fight for boxing, the last thing is we need this for boxing, man, because 2020 has just really not been a very, very good year for boxing. You've got fights like Jake Paul versus Tyrone Woodley really outshining a lot of real boxing competitions. So I'm just really hoping that the promoters and the real promoters, the Bob Arams, and advisors, Al Heyman and these guys really start thinking, as more of a unit about how they can advance the sport of boxing together and get a lot of these turf warfares that they've been under for several years out of the way. Because, if not, who knows what direction boxing is going to go. And, a rising tide lifts all boats, but, a draining moat sinks them all as well. So anyway, that's my take on the matter. You let me know what you think in the comment section. With that, I'm out. Peace.